Game 3 of Suns-Pelicans is here. What can the Suns do? How can they get back in sorts if they've been out of sorts? What can they do without Devin Booker? And how do they stop Brandon Ingram? All of it coming up on Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a contributor at Suns.com as well as Dime Magazine. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen today and every day. Hit that subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, as well as our YouTube page where you are watching this show. Gonna have a bonus episode for you post-game on Friday, but here today we are here to preview the game. No new update on Devin Booker, but we'll talk about how they can continue to make up for his absence, as well as some other X's and O's, as in particular Brandon Ingram. What can we do there? What can the Suns do to slow down a 6'9" giant who scores from all over the court? Aaron Edwards is here. He's a writer at All Caps NBA for his weekly check-in. Aaron, I feel like this is a good time to be talking because the highs and lows of games 1 and 2 are over. We have these couple of days to chill. How are you feeling? Is this sooner than you expected to be stressing in this Suns playoff run? Because I feel like most people did not think it would happen on game 3 here.
I mean, we were stressing around this time last year, I think.
We were stressing before game 1 last year.
Yeah, so I think we're pretty much in the same place that we were last time. Yeah, I think that we're going to right the ship, and I think it's good to have this stuff happen early. I think it happening early last year was even a big deal. So I was stressing at first, but knowing this team, and you don't win 64 games on accident, so I just feel like it'll be fine.
We actually have a first on the show here. So I do that intro. Your screen is turned off. Then I bring you back in. This is the first time I think that a tweet has gotten fired off during my intro. Do you have an ASU football take? I feel like I got to give you the floor here.
I just think it's about to be a rough couple of years.
I've disowned ASU.
I think it's going to be a nightmare coming up pretty soon.
I am by no means insulted that you are getting tweets off. As somebody who tweets during meetings all the time at work and just hopes nobody's paying any attention to it, I don't fault you. I just pretend like I didn't go to ASU. I worked there. I went there. None of it ever happened. I'm a wildcat until I die at this point. But let's talk about Booker a little bit here because it goes into the bench scoring, which is something you said you wanted to talk about a little bit. And first of all, I went over how the Suns can win without Booker from a purely what did the stats look like during their successful times during that 7-game stretch early in the season? Yeah. What's not happening? Chris Paul passing up shots, some of the big stuff that just needs to change right away. But who do you think starts? Because I didn't talk about that part of it. Landry Shamet goes from not in the rotation to playing pretty well even into the fourth quarter in game 2 because Book goes out. Monty doesn't seem to feel like he's a good fit in this series for whatever reason. And we also have Cameron Johnson playing well. He seems like a obvious fit to step in. He's been the guy who's done that most often, but it was Shamet when Book missed those 7 games with the last hamstring strain. Do you think it's one of those two guys? Would you go in a different direction? What do you think would make the most sense?
I think it kind of has to be Cam Johnson lengthwise. We just need the length out there because our rebounding is still abysmal. And so I just think I'm not sure if that'll help even how they're just bullying down there, but I just think we need the length on the floor and we need shooting. We've been shooting pretty bad from 3 this series so far. And I just think Chris Paul needs the spacing to get the shots that he's going to have. He's going to have to get shots up now. So I just think he needs the spacing to even get the shots up that he's going to need. And I just think going lengthwise is probably smarter. Shamet was really playing good toward the end of the season, but I just think we really need the size right now.
Yeah, I think that's all probably true. I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. To me, in the playoffs especially, I'm just going to default to put the best players on the floor at the end of the day, right? And we know Cam Johnson's just better than Landry Shamet. And like you said, in this particular series, he's going to add a few things that they really need right now. If he can get in there on the boards, if he can be a more consistent floor spacer than Jay Crowder has been. And the interesting thing about him from this series perspective is like he is actually getting the trust of the coaching staff to go out and guard on the perimeter. Like there are possessions based on whatever the lineup might be where he will start, like his primary assignment in a given moment has been like, hey, go guard CJ McCollum, or like, go guard Brandon Ingram or whatever. Like it's not as if the Suns have felt like they need to hide Cam. So putting him into that starting lineup, it's not like a math problem of like, oh crap, now we don't have like the defensive matchups that we want. They seem to be pretty comfortable with that. So that's probably where I would lean either way. But I think Shamet needs to be great. I mean, he needs to be a great shooter in the remainder of the games when Book is out, however many that ends up being, regardless of whether he's in the starting lineup or the bench. So I don't feel like if Shamet can get open shots, I feel like he'll make them. Like it's some of that other stuff where it's a problem. But what do you think this bench lineup needs to look like if you're already not getting a lot out of it and now you're taking Cam Johnson potentially out of it, who's been like the one consistent guy?
I think like we like even the lineup now, the starting lineup, regardless of who starts tomorrow, we don't have a lot of guys that could put the ball on the floor and go get a bucket.
Especially
like all of
Payne
them
playing like he has one leg or something. I don't know what's going on.
So all of them, like I think that's gonna even make the bench lineup worse, especially with the way Payne is playing. So I just think we need more ball handlers, and we knew that at the trade deadline, and that was kind of my whole beef with the whole thing. Was you brought in Aaron Holiday, and he was putting the ball on the floor and getting buckets earlier, but Monty seems to not really trust him right now. So I think just Cam Johnson, he's gotten way better at that this season. Just putting the ball on the floor, getting to the rim, and like getting fouled, and he just seems way more aggressive than he's been in the last couple of years. But I just think like ball handling wise, like he's gonna have to mix and match some weird lineups so he doesn't have just one ball handler on the floor, even though we don't have that many in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. Is Eric Gordon still signable? Is that still an option? I'm not sure how the playoff deadline like lineup roster stuff works, but give his agent a call, see if there's a way to work that out, because that would have been nice right about now. I think though, so there's still a way to do it right where Cam can start but still be like a bench in there with the bench lineups a little bit.
Yeah.
You can have, because we know Crowder's the first sub out, and usually it would be Cam coming in for him. In this case, you can just have Cam shift down to the 4, and then Shamet will be probably that first sub in, or maybe Payne. So you can still then have it where Cam leaves and then comes back in when the bench comes in. And there's all sorts of like, it doesn't necessarily mean, okay, Cam is never going to be out there with some of those Payne Shamet lineups to give them a little more juice. It's going to be interesting to see how much they can stretch Chris Paul's minutes. Like, is he going to need to now play 40 plus like Booker was? I don't know.
He's going to be in like the 35 to 36 range at the least, I think. Like,
I mean, that's already where he's been now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this though, because you were talking about Holiday. If we assume like Monty doesn't fully love the Shamet thing for whatever reason, I don't exactly get it. I mean, I understand that like the top to bottom, the Pelicans roster is kind of big, and so Shamet isn't like huge for a wing, but at the same time, it's like it's a bunch of rookies. Like it's not like you need to worry about Trey Murphy like getting you off the bounce 5 times in a game. So it's a little strange to me why he just made that decision so quickly on Shamet, but we'll see what happens there. I don't think Torrey Craig is much of a fit in this series. Monty said the only reason he's really going to him, or the main reason he's going to him, is guarding Ingram. Well, that's not working. So why stay with it, right? So if we're thinking like game 3, game 4 is when things start to really change in a series, I saw somebody, I think in the comments of my last video, talking about bringing Ish Wainwright in there just for some rebounding and maybe another option on Ingram. That's one option. I don't know if it makes a ton of sense because his offense is obviously a liability. And then Aaron Holiday, like you said, is the obvious other one. Do you think we see either one of those guys, or would you like, do you feel desperate enough to already be trying stuff like that? Or do you say, hey, game 3, we're sticking with what's been going and just hope it looks.
I think like for the most part, Monty knows he doesn't have that much to fix. Like they shot 55% from 3 and they played the worst transition defense I've ever seen in my life. So I think that like just 15 to 20 points just came from that even. So I just think that like he knows, like they saw what was terrible. Like we all saw it. Like we don't think that the refs stole that game from us. We know that we played pretty terrible. Yeah. So I just think that like he didn't really have that much to fix. Like, yes, he could probably go bigger and be better on the boards, but I think some of that was added to the transition stuff. You can see they made it like a real like effort to crash the boards, and that's why those little sneak outs and transition happened, because they made a really big effort to crash the boards and stop second chance points. But I think like just finding a good middle ground to crash the boards and not give up the easiest transition shots I've ever seen. And you're probably in game 2 and you probably come out with it. So I just think they just have to find like the really decent middle ground to stop both those things from happening.
Yeah, I think you and I are about on the same page. That was kind of the message of yesterday's show for me, is like, hey, the Suns just look like the Suns. They could have swept this series. It's on them to play better. It's on them to play like they've been playing all year. It's not so much the Pelicans are some, legendary 8 seed that came out of nowhere and is about to go win the title. Like, that's not what's happening here. So let's talk about some of that rebounding stuff, because I think that's where Willie Green was like a genius in game 2 personally. But let's get into it. Let's see what the Suns maybe can do to combat it. First though, guys, today's show brought to you by Truebill. Truebill is it's out to solve one of the worst problems with the internet, which is subscriptions that charge you without telling you. We all know you sign up for something, they tell you it's a trial, and then it's like, oh, actually I've been paying for that for 3 months and had no idea. Well, Truebill is the new app that helps you identify those, stop paying for them, and save money. On average, people save up to $720 a year when they switch and use Truebill. Companies love to make those subscriptions hard or honestly impossible. Have you ever had one where you have to call? That's the absolute worst. And all you got to do is link those accounts, link everything that you are subscribed to or that you have an account with or even a sign up with to your Truebill account. They will monitor all of it. Your Truebill concierge will remind you, hey, this charge went through. Do you want it? Do you not want it? And they'll cancel the subscription for you. Truebill has over 2 million users and has helped them save over $100 million combined. So don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now. That's Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. All one word, LockedOnNBA. Could save you thousands per year. Today's show, guys, also brought to you by Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar ever. My favorite protein bar, literally the chosen snack of the Locked On Podcast Network at this point. It's not even about protein bars or snack bars or any of that. There's literally not a snack that I prefer when I'm hungry. If I'm in between meals and I'm feeling embarrassed about the level that I've eaten today, it's like, hey, let me put a Built Bar in my mouth and I'll be full. I won't have to feel bad about myself because I'm eating candy or whatever else I find in my pantry. Protein bar, good, low sugar, low calorie, high in protein, the perfect snack to get you through. Maybe it's before a workout, after a workout. It's perfect for any occasion, and they have flavors for everybody. Raspberry, strawberry, coconut for maybe the lighter flavored folks among us, or the more rich stuff, double chocolate, peanut butter brownie. Limited time right now, they have a mint marshmallow going. That's my preference, but there's something for everybody. Go to Built.com right now, guys. Find your old favorite. Find a new favorite. Check out the limited time offerings. And when you do, use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your next order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. So I heard some what I would call lazy analysis of Game 2, Aaron, where people were kind of like yada-yadaing, oh, and the Pelicans keep dominating the boards and you got to figure that out and blah, blah, blah. That didn't actually happen in Game 2. The Suns only got out-rebounded by 10, and that was actually in large part because of the Suns' misses more so than anything else. It was the defensive glass, most of it. This time, the Pelicans only had 11 offensive rebounds. A few of them with Valanciunas and Hayes were some of those like putback or tips or whatever that we've been seeing that aren't exactly like these possession extenders where they're kicking it back out and resetting the offense and burning time. What I think the smart thing was about how the Pelicans were able to keep control of the game a little bit was Willie Green deciding or realizing like we killed them on the offensive glass in Game 1. They're going to be ready for that because the Suns tend to adjust really well. We're going to flip that on its head, and we're going to punish them for bringing extra bodies into the glass by running out in transition. As you said in that last segment, 16 fast break points for the Pelicans in this game, only 9 for the Suns, which is almost exactly the flip of what it was in Game 1. So what gives here? Like, is it? I just feel like if you're the Suns, you can't keep allowing Willie Green to decide the terms of engagement. You can't keep saying we'll just respond to whatever Willie decides is going to be the flow of the game. But he's had it by the neck for 2 straight games, it feels like, and the Suns need to respond. They need to have an answer right away and not allow that to happen. What do you think is gonna be the flow in Game 3?
I think Torrey not rebounding like he did last year is kind of like the big thing that Monty kind of probably didn't expect. So I just think maybe just a bigger body down there. Wainwright, like if you watch the games, you can see they're just getting pushed around. Like what they're letting Valanciunas get away with down there, which is the playoffs. So they're going to let him do it like regardless. But he's just getting to do whatever he wants. So I just think having another body that can kind of match that would probably help a little bit. So you don't having Cam Johnson or Mikal Bridges, like all of them having to crash and having to work that much harder in transition, because the Pelicans are getting the ball and sprinting now. like the second anybody touches the ball, they're running their offense as quick as possible. So I just think having bigger bodies down there to bang would probably just help a little bit more. But then where will our scoring come from? That's probably like the mixed match of having to win the boards or score some points. And that's the problem, and that's like the stress that Willie's putting on the team right now.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it's like Game 1 with those offensive rebounds and Valanciunas especially, it obviously helped the Pelicans stay close, and it was a single-digit game going into the fourth quarter and all that, but the Suns won handily still, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like Game 2 with the Pelicans deciding to run was by far the more damaging thing, and obviously Booker going out, it throws a wrench in like any way you're going to analyze this stuff because it's such a shock. The Suns obviously weren't expecting, hey, we're going to get 31 from Booker and then not have him. So you don't know what exactly to do there. But at the same time, to me, the runouts and the transition defense are by far the more difficult challenge to try to solve than the glass. Like I thought this from the very beginning in my series preview that I did before Game 1. I was like, we can talk about the size all we want. To me, the Suns can give up a deficit on the offensive glass and still win handily in all these games. I think that's still true. Like, we'll talk about the Ingram part at the end because that's another change from Game 1 to Game 2. But I kind of think everything to me comes back to like the Suns just need to play their style and almost stop worrying about the Pelicans, whatever they're doing. Like, they're going to make mistakes. They're a young team. They're not going to execute everything to perfection. But when they're able to get into the Suns' heads, when the Suns are overthinking their, little micro adjustment moment to moment, oh crap, they're running out. Oh crap, I want to get the board. Oh, let me attack this guy and go at this mismatch and whatever. That's always when we've seen the Suns really struggle. So I know it sounds so simple, but it's like, it feels like the Pelicans, part of what they're doing is just getting in the Suns' heads a little bit. And if you just like go out there and say, hey, we can score 120 and hold you to 95, and we all know that. Let's just go do it. Like, that, I don't know. Like, that seems to me like the game plan might be to delete like 5 points off the game plan a little bit here.
Yeah, I think that you'd rather lose the rebounding battle than the transition points battle because that's just easy points, and you just can't give up that many easy points off of makes even like makes or misses. Like, they were sprinting regardless. And I just think you just can't just stopping the easy points and playing like a top 5 defense, which they are. Like, you kind of are going to run away with this series. Like, we've been giving up rebounding numbers like all season pretty much.
Exactly, yes.
So like I just think
years.
I don't think focusing on that now and trying to fix it now when you haven't fixed it all season and we're still blowing people out is going to change anything. Just play your game, play defense, and get the rebounds that you know you can get, and just play hard defense on the other end.
Like, you're not going to get a Valanciunas game where he gets 20. Like, he's not averaging 25 boards every night, right? I mean, like, it's easy to get scared after Game 1, but if you just play good defense on that first shot, which is something Monty's always talking about, they're a great first shot defense, and whether they allow the second shot or not is kind of what is going to determine the efficacy of their defense. It's like, okay, well, welcome to basketball at a certain point. Like, that's how great. I mean, the only thing you really can do is guard the team, try to make them miss. Like, at a certain point, it's like fumbles in the NFL. Like everybody, the big analytics thing is like fumbles are random. Like to me, offensive rebounds, there's a certain amount of it that's random in a game.
Yeah.
You're not going to get 25 from Valanciunas every night. On this note, though, so another kind of part of this, whether it's Wainwright, whether it's Holiday, maybe Biyombo gets in there. Who knows? I doubt it's Biyombo. But I do think if it's Valanciunas and Hayes, you can actually steal some minutes with Biyombo if you really want to. Aside from all that, though, like part of this get back to your style thing to me, and it's interesting because like after game one, I think all of us were like, yeah, get Hayes off the floor. Like he's the pigeon. Ha ha ha. And then it seems like the Suns kind of focused too much on it in game two, where, the Pelicans turned that back on them, where they were like, okay, if Hayes is going to be out there guarding Crowder, guarding Chris Paul, whatever, then we're going to use that as an advantage to get him to run out in transition. And then at the same time, I also watch and I'm like, how on earth is Devontae Graham actually surviving in this series?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Like, how much should they be worrying about attacking that stuff?
I think a lot of that was Chris Paul was a minus 14. So like, he's not going to always do that. I think a lot of like the problems just lied with how bad Chris Paul kind of played. Him and DA just didn't have great games. And I just think when you're losing the rebounding battle and the transition battle and your point guard and big just aren't connected at the same time and your number one option goes down, I just think like things are going to look awful in the moment when all three of those things are happening at the same time. So I just think like Chris Paul's not going to be like a minus 12 or 14 again. And DA's not going to just completely disappear in the second half. So I just think like there are going to be way more focal points in this game coming up. So I think like they're going to attack the Jackson Hayes. Like Chris Paul's going to get him in mismatches and probably do a lot better than he did the last game.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I just feel like it kind of reminds me of the Clippers series after they won game 3, where it was a lot of like, wow, could this Clippers team actually do it? And it's like, no, it's the playoffs. It's good teams. Like stuff happens, You play Paul George and Reggie Jackson in a big versatile team, like they're going to do stuff to you. If you play the Pelicans, who are well coached, have talent, all that stuff, like, yeah, they might steal one from you. It's like, to me, a lot of it is that like you need to be ready for the adjustment stuff. But if we just see like a peak Suns game, then I just think a lot of it goes away. But the other part of this is obviously Brandon Ingram. He's probably the one guy who does have the ability to swing a game as he just did. So let's talk about him, what the Suns can do maybe to quiet him down, mix things up on him, all that stuff. First, though, guys, today's show brought to you by BetOnline.net, your number one source for betting stats and sports info all year long. Find the latest analysis, podcasts, news, all of it to inform your betting across this year's basketball playoffs, the start of the baseball season, and more. BetOnline is your continued source for sports wagering info, including live betting and esports and beyond. I'm looking here at the NBA championship odds. I would say get in now because the Suns lose Devin Booker with a mild hamstring strain, and all of the bettors across America overreacted. So you are now looking at Suns plus 340 to win the title, Warriors plus 275. That might flip in like a week. So get it in. If you want to have a little bit of a financial stake in the Suns winning this thing, which is always a little more fun, albeit a little more stressful, I would say to jump on that right now. Head to the website today. That's betonline.net, or use their mobile app to learn more about the latest trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So we all know, Aaron, Brandon Ingram, 37 points, 13 of 21 from the field, a near triple-double. Very much a, like, you tip your hat type of game. Like, there's not as much as, like, Suns fans wanted to be angry and got into it with Pelicans fans for Lord knows what reason on the internet. Ingram played incredible. And, like, what else are you really going to say about it? But what would you do here? Like, do you, again, sort of like that question of do you use game 3 as an overreaction or big adjustment game, or do you try to stick with what you've been doing? Like, would you put Bridges on him from the start? Would you change that up? How would you approach this heading in?
I think Bridges has been doing too well with CJ. Like, CJ's pretty much been gone until the fourth quarters mostly, and then he gets hot in the second half, sort of. And so I think, like, try to do, like, I'm not sure we have, like, the horses for it, but just try to do what Boston's been doing to KD. Like, they're just throwing bodies at him and doubling him randomly and tripling him randomly. And if if like 20-40% of your points are coming from one dude, just keep throwing bodies at him. And if he starts missing and you can run out in transition after running as many bodies as you can at him, then that's a win for you. Like if Brandon Ingram's not going to kill you, I really just don't really see Mikal having a problem like being on an island with CJ.
Well, let me ask you this then, because let's say games 3 and 4, we know Booker's not playing, right? So if Ingram keeps this up, maybe not as efficient, but if he scores 35 a game in 3 and 4 also, and obviously the Suns don't have Booker, do you think the Suns can still win, or do you think they need to get Ingram down to like 25-30 to have a chance?
I think it depends on the kind of 30 he's having, honestly. Like if he's like jacking up a lot of shots and efficiency is in the mud, then I think that's a win for us. Like it's not really that he's getting his points, it's how he's getting them. Like he was getting to the rim, he's getting a lot of free throws, and he was hitting from 3, and he's not really that great of a 3-point shooter. So I just think if we can just keep the efficiency down, like he can get his 30 however he needs to.
Yeah, 33% from deep this year, although a lot higher the previous years. So it's like you kind of take your chances in some ways, but he's also become a much better passer this year. So I think that's probably you kind of pull out the Clippers playbook as much as you can, I think, where it's like doubling him on the catch, making his catches out closer to, I mean, it's the same thing they did to Cat, right? It's like, you're not gonna be comfortable, basically. You know, you're gonna have to pass the ball, you're gonna have to beat us with your teammates and everything else. It's like even some of these other things within the box score, I don't think you're getting a 3-for-3 game from Jose Alvarado, who's like my height. Again, I don't think you're going to get a combined 5 of 8 3-point shooting from Herb Jones and Trey Murphy all that often. You know, CJ, he heated up when the game was already tilting toward the Pelicans' favor to help kind of close it out. But you're right, Mikal's been doing a good job on him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually, the more I think about it, I don't hate the idea of trying Wainwright. Like, Torrey Craig's just not playing well. So why keep sticking with that? Maybe if you think like, okay, Torrey's going to be important for us down the line, so I don't want to just bail on him right away. If you're Monty Williams, maybe that's the thought there. But at the same time, you know, you coach to win. And Ish feels like if you're trying to just make Ingram uncomfortable and like second guessing himself, giving the ball up, making shots just feel tough, like, I don't know, Wainwright probably can do that.
Yeah, I think like that's why they kind of kept him, is he showed that he can just annoy dudes sometimes with his big body and just how strong he is. And in the playoffs, like it just like the games get tighter and the reps kind of swallow their whistles a little more. And having a dude that can just get physical with somebody, especially with a body frame like that, and just wear him down. Like if we do have to do a game 6 or a 7, just having him worn down for these games is just going to help in the future.
All right, we have an update on Booker. It just came down. 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, God. No. That is tough.
That is Brian Windhorst saying, grade 1 right hamstring strain, could miss 2 to 3 weeks, but the Pelicans are preparing as if Booker will be back sooner than the standard timetable. So 2 weeks from Tuesday would put him, like, if there was a game 7, he maybe could play.
Yeah.
It's about, like...
It's kind of what he missed last time.
Yeah, because, like, 3 weeks is 21 days, and he missed 20 days last time. I don't know, though. It's so weird that they put out mild, and then now it's 2 to 3 weeks. It makes me feel like they're being deceptive a little bit. Like, they're just putting out sort of like, this is the standard timetable that everybody who gets this injury would have, and so we'll just play it like we're going to operate that way, and then if he comes back, he comes back. Is that's what I feel like is happening. Yeah,
I think like I said, like him traveling with the team instead of just being here doing STEM and like all that stuff, like as much as possible, just didn't really seem like, it seemed kind of weird if it was going to be like that bad of an injury. But I just think like he wants to be there. So, and I think they're just playing it really close to the vest right now. But I am shocked he's going on like this trip, especially if the injury was going to be as bad as they're saying it is right now.
Yeah, that's so strange. And then it's also, we're back to the like dueling Woj and Windhorst reports where it's like
Yeah.
they're just saying two different things like they were with the Harden and Simmons stuff. I don't know. This is why I was hoping we would get this before we recorded, but at least we got it in before we stopped. All right, let's. I haven't been doing so. People on the other hosts on the network have been talking me out of doing predictions. I don't know why. I think it's fun. Why not do it? Do you think they win Game 3?
Yeah, I think they do. I just think like the last stretch of the game with the transition stuff and like just matchup wise, I think campaign's hopefully going to be better. But I just think like a lot of the stuff that we did pretty terrible the last game was very easily fixable.
I think if you get an efficient 20 and 10 from Paul, they win. I think if Ingram keeps going off and Paul can't match that, that's when I get worried. But at the same time, the Suns are the best team. I mean, the better team and probably the best team still. So it's like, to me, as I've been saying throughout, that's kind of where I come down. I don't want to just sit and talk about the Booker thing anymore because I think Suns fans are going to be sad. So let's end it there. We'll see what happens. By Friday's show, we'll probably have heard a lot more from everybody about this thing. We'll have obviously watched Game 3, so I will be here to recap that, folks. Try to enjoy it. It still might be a win. Like, this is all supposed to be fun. Just remember that. But that'll do it, guys. Go check out Aaron on All Caps NBA every single week, and go make Locked On NBA your second listen now that you're done listening to Locked On Suns. Catch up on everything you missed around the league on Thursday night, and I will talk to you guys later this evening.